All right. Cool. Welcome back. So I missed a few things on this first segment. I want to go over really quick in the section about helping people get control of their thoughts. I got onto here, self-talk and the rubber band. So as we're doing this, destroy beliefs and catch them in their words and labels and things, at some point, about 9 out of 10 times in that first session while I'm doing that detailed personal history, I'll give them a little teaching on self-talk. How self-talk is very important. Now, most athletes have heard about self-talk in their sport from their coach. And what we're talking about is, I'm no good, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. All the destructive things they say and think to themselves. And so I give them a simple tool.
Well, you'll have to ask Craig. This young lady has a question for you.
What's that?
I just taking a peek at your food.
Go ahead and have a bit. Feel free. You hungry? Okay.
She says they do a lot of hypnosis on Scooby-Doo. So she was
They do?
curious.
Really?
I didn't know that.
I don't
They
either.
hypnotize monkeys.
So I will tell, we're talking about self-talk and how to correct self-talk in a really simple, easy way. And I'll give my client a rubber band.
Thank you.
I have a bunch of these rubber bands in my office, and I'll throw it at him and say, put this on your wrist. Anytime you hear yourself think or say out loud any disempowering, cancel. That's how I used to be. Now I am. And then you say the opposite to yourself. And then I'll usually tell this story, especially to business clients. This is really more related to adults, more relatable to adults. I'll talk about how I used to be in Toastmasters. Anybody been in Toastmasters before to learn how to public speak better? And I tell them about how the first time I went to Toastmasters, they have people evaluating you. You do a speech and you get evaluated. One of the evaluators is called a grammarian. And what the grammarian does is count your ums, ands, ahs, and unnecessary fillers and things you really don't need to have in your talk, right? And I went through my first speech, and afterwards the grammarian says, so Craig, you had 7 ums, 8 ands, 6 lip smacks. I tend to do that, I guess. And 4 extra ands. I don't remember what he said. And I just go, wow. I don't even know I did that, right? And afterwards, I'm asking the president, I said, so what do I do about these ums, ands, and ahs and all these? He goes, you'll be fine. I'm like, what? There's no help for me to fix these things. But every time I did a speech, because I knew there was a grammarian there, I had less of them. And I just trained myself out of them with the rubber band. And now, some kids and even I've done this with adults. And you'll see me at home wearing mine. Not necessarily for self-talk corrections, I'm fairly good at that, but just to remind myself to be awake and aware of something that I'm working on. It can be as simple as, I want to give my girlfriend far more compliments. So every time I look at this, I think, oh, more compliments today, 5 more compliments today. It's just to stay awake and stay aware. And I don't know how it happens, it's magic, but just being aware does the trick. Knowing you have the grammarian. No, you take a look at this, it's there. It's not something you always do. Don't wear it 100% of the time, because then you won't see it anymore, right? You notice how when you put a sticky note somewhere,
Yeah, right.
it becomes invisible at some point. But if you use it powerfully, sparingly, it can do some really good work for you. And then I'll talk about, I can see the eye rolls on some of my clients when I introduce this, like, come on. And I said, well, have you ever heard of an athlete by the name of John Elway, Super Bowl MVP, somewhere in the 90s, I don't remember. So I watched a Disney, at the end of the Super Bowl where they said, what are you going to do? And they always say, I'm going to Disneyland. He had his tattered little rubber band around his wrist. I go, I guess if it's good enough for a Super Bowl MVP, you might want to consider doing that. And usually these stories, and I got a whole list of stories at the back of this to support everything I'm teaching. And I encourage you to get your own stories. I'm constantly bringing up stories of my clients, my own personal life. Stories are hypnosis, whether we've done an induction or not. So I'm almost always, and as you notice here today, I'm bringing up stories to teach you guys these things. Cool? And I'm catching their don'ts and their nots. We don't need that anymore. We're going to move toward things instead of away from things, right? This is an interesting one. The word hope. I don't want them to use the word hope and try in my office with regards to them getting their outcome. I go, hope? What's wrong with that? Because hope implies that you might not get your outcome. You might not get it. I hope I get it. No, you're getting it. From now on, that's how you're talking in my office. Try is the same thing. And I do this really cool, and you might have seen this, I'll say, try to grab this pen out of my hand. And then the client will go like this. And I'll say, no, you didn't follow my instructions. You grabbed the pen out of my hand. If you would have really tried to grab the pen, you would have done this. Try. See, an experience really teaches them the power of that. I could say all day long, the word try means you might not actually get it. You're giving yourself an out. And I say that, but when they do this, feel it. They own it a little bit more. Mindfulness, I'm not going to go over that. That's a flyer in there to give you some quick little tools and tricks, and they're self-evident. And I believe it's right after, it's in there. It's right after all the teaching concepts.
Is the baby walking story, 3 Kings, in there too?
You know what? I'm going to go over that. Mindfulness is on page 14. So that's some good homework. And the rubber band, 14 is the mindfulness. These are ways to help them get in control of their thoughts. Right? Pretty simple stuff. The page explains it all. But I do want to talk about the confidence. And I talked to you guys earlier about confidence and how you don't really need it. And the story that I use is we were all babies once, right? And we didn't used to walk. And now we all walk. Now, I once had a very prominent sports psychologist tell me the only way I know how to get confidence is to have some success, and then you get confidence. And I don't know how to create it other than having some success. And I said, wait a minute. Maybe we don't even need it. Like I said, do babies have any success walking before they decide they want to walk? No. And I tell them the story. You were a baby. Did you have any success walking before you started walking? No, you just wanted to. And the second part of that is your willingness when you fall to get back up. In other words, keep going for it. Desire and resilience, or bouncing back, or coming back. That's all you need. You don't need confidence. When I've told this to my clients, I heard so many times they go, wow, that has relieved so much stress on me. Just going out there and performing. If you're working with someone with test anxiety, you don't need confidence that you can do well at this. Don't need it. Forget it. By the way, the sports psychologist I interviewed, he says, I don't know how to create confidence unless you're a hypnotist or something. He didn't know I was. It was funny. Anyway, there's a funny story. I'll also mention a movie called The 3 Kings. It was George Clooney. And he is, it's in the 90s or something like that. And it's a pretty cool movie about the first Iraq War. And he's leading 2 real raw recruits out into the desert for this mission. And they're just about to go into battle. And George Clooney's been through all these, Sarge has been through all these battles. He's a grizzled veteran. And the 2 guys, one of them goes, Sarge, I'm scared. I'm scared. How do you get the courage? How do you get the confidence to do this? He goes, you do the thing you're afraid of, and then you get the confidence. In other words, you don't need the confidence once again. All right? Just do it. Mindfulness we covered. The other thing I want to talk about is story editing. instead of talking NLP type terms, I use simple terms, as you've noticed, to help people understand. Story editing is reframing, or inserting a new meaning for something. And I'll just say, in talk, in anywhere, in any of my sessions, I go, that's an interesting story. I've got another story. Would you like to hear it? If you use that word, they get it. They get it a lot easier. You talk about reframing, they go, what does that mean? I'm really big on not using technical terms, even with adults, unless they're really interested in NLP. In fact, the people who are interested in NLP know more technical terms than I do, because I'm so steeped in just going down to earth and getting to the core of what we're doing here. So story editing is just bottom line. Here's an example. I'm often working with rejection, fear of rejection, right? One of the biggest human fears, probably above death. In surveys all across the spectrum, different societies, public speaking is the biggest fear in surveys, above death, which is fear of rejection. And I say, what's to be afraid of? And they say, well, the story that we usually tell ourselves is something like, well, that person is better than me, or I don't measure up to them, or I'm not as good. I go, that's just a story. Well, let's look for some truth. What is the real truth in what you're calling rejection? The real truth is two people don't match values. Nobody's values are better than another. So that's the new story you're going to tell about them. Does it really matter if your values don't match with the whole world's values? No. There's no such thing as what you're calling rejection. Once again, I'll use the intake and the detailed personal history. And if I hear this kind of thing up, I'll do it right then and there. We'll talk about rejection, for instance, because it'll come up right in the middle of that. I'm afraid that my coach won't like me, my team won't like me, the person I'm dating won't like me, whatever. Listen, that's just a story. We get to tell ourselves whatever stories we want. How about this story? I overuse the word story, and it starts sinking in, right? You say perceptions, and maybe some adults who really are into this stuff will get it, but I really like that word story, so that's why I put that in there. Okay? I think we covered the first section. Anybody got any questions so far before we move on? Cool?
I think we're good.
All right, excellent. All right, so before I do any hypnosis, we'll quickly go over this. I told you about the hypochondriac. That was a classic case. 6 sessions doing nothing but empowerment. Before we do any hypnosis in my office, man, I'm gonna pound it into their head that they do hypnosis. I'll use a metaphor. I'll say, look, I'm just a Sherpa guide. We're gonna go climb a mountain together, and I know the way. I got the compass, map, been up and down that mountain 1,000 times, but you're gonna do the walking. And so I want people to get that story, right? You're gonna do all the walking. I'll tell them the story of a back pain client I had. Came to me. Had years of pain that he couldn't get rid of. Doctors, you name it, every practitioner under the sun. And he finally comes to me because we're at the end of the line for pain, right? As a hypnotherapist. And that's the way it should be, because we're working with the mind. In fact, I had people say, well, I did a lot of pain work in the past. They'd say, well, I'm going to do you, and then I'm going to do acupuncture. I go, do all them first. And I hope it works for you. When you're done with them, come see me if you still need help. I've actually sent people away that way. I want to be the end of the line. Right before faith healing, okay? Anyway, this guy comes to me, and he's a construction worker, and he's desperate because if he can't work, he doesn't make any money. And doctor says he needs back surgery. He's going to be out months with no money, nothing. And so he's desperate. He comes in, and he's totally giving me eye rolls about all the pre-talk and all the detailed person. He's like, oh my, I can just tell in his mind he's thinking, what has my life come to? I am now in a hypnotherapist's office. This is, total eye rolls. So barely participating, arms crossed like this as I talk, and short answers the whole time. I do the first session, and afterwards, I bring him up, and I look at him, I say, so how was your experience? And he says, I can't be hypnotized. I said, how do you know? Right? I question everything. He goes, I don't know. How do you know you weren't hypnotized then? I don't know. I asked him like 4 more questions like that, and I can see he's getting agitated because he couldn't answer any of them. And finally, he just needed a break. He goes, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. And I said, go ahead, go take care of that, and we'll come back, we'll wrap up, I'll send you on your way. He goes out, he comes back in the door, and he's laughing. He's laughing, big old smile. The guy hadn't cracked a smile in an hour and a half of working with him. I'm shocked. I'm looking at him, and he says, no, I said, so what is so funny? And he says, Craig, I'm in the bathroom, and I'm thinking to myself, what just happened? And I couldn't answer any of those questions. And then it hit me. I haven't been able to stand up in 7 years from a chair without groaning, and I'm okay right now. What did you do to me? Now see, he hadn't paid attention to my pre-talk, which is all about this. That was the key. I said, I didn't do anything. You just followed instructions. You did the work. Now and he ended up, 2 or 3 more sessions, taught him how to do it for himself. He ended up taking all my brochures, the Mountain Lake Terrace pain specialist. They were sending me clients. It's not to say that I'm the greatest hypnotherapist. Any of you could have done what I did. But my point was, this guy did not buy into it. That's okay. And I give my clients the okay. Yeah, you don't have to buy into any of this. If you go look at my website where I have the evening magazine show where I help the gymnast, I say right on there, you don't have to believe any of this and it can still work. Man, that just relieves them right off the bat. Now, because you got to answer the questions they're having in their head when they come in to see you. On the phone, answer those questions. All throughout, I'm always anticipating their questions. And their questions before the first session are, can I be hypnotized? Will this work for me? Right? And so I just get rid of that stuff right off the bat. I say, everybody does hypnosis. You've been doing it your whole life. You probably did it 4 times this morning. You don't even know it. The only difference between what we're doing now and what you've been doing your whole life is now we're going to do it on purpose. Yeah? And then, here's the kicker. You're going to love this one. The best way to do hypnosis, this is how I finish it before we start the session. The best way to do hypnosis is to assume you're doing hypnosis.
I like that. Yeah.
You can't lose as a therapist. They're in. And if they have, I said, fine. Any other questions? Because your job is to bring me questions, your fears, doubts, worries, concerns. Mine is to destroy them, so give them to me. If you don't have any, we're rocking and you're going to do it. And it's just like you box them into their outcome. I just herd them in, herd all their thoughts, and just keep pushing them forward. Say, go. And they go. And I make them go. I kick them in the butt sometimes, and they go. Sometimes you need to kick them in the butt a little bit, metaphorically, right? Of course, I'll do a little stage hypnosis thing. I go a little bit further than maybe a lot of hypnotherapists in talking about stage hypnosis. There's a lot of stage hypnotists who disagree with me, but I pretty much say, you know what, that has nothing to do with what we're doing here. I want to go overboard in saying, whatever you know over there, just leave it over there. Whatever you've seen, start from scratch. Pretend you've never seen it. You don't know anything, and you'll do. For the cameras, I actually go a little bit further than that. But bottom line is, just start from scratch here. It has nothing to do with what we're doing here. And I make it, this is all a natural, normal thing. Everybody can do it. Everybody does it exactly right. You can't do it wrong. And the only thing that's required today is just follow instructions. But what is hypnosis? At its core, it's just focus on this, and intention to connect to your body, connect to your unconscious mind. And by the way, sometimes I like the term unconscious. Some people like the term subconscious. This is just an aside. And because some people will say, you're subconscious, while I'm saying unconscious. I'll say, it's cool, I can go back and forth, it's the same thing as far as I'm concerned. But I prefer the term unconscious because the prefix sub tends to mean lesser or lower, like submarine, under. And I think it's the greater part of us, the greater part of our thinking. So that's why I use that. With kids, with younger folks, I will use the terms thinking mind and power mind. And they understand that a lot better. I don't use those technical terms. They like that. And anytime I say thinking mind, I do this. And anytime I do power mind, I do this with my hands.
How old are you talking about?
The youngest
Up
I
till-
work with is like 8.
Yeah, and up until when do you switch?
You know what? Lately, I've been asking them. Lately, if they're in that middle range, that 14-year-old-ish, I'll ask them. So, I'm going to talk about the power mind and the thinking mind, or the conscious and the unconscious. What do you like better? I have to let them choose lately. I used to choose for them, but I'm doing more. Empower them as much as possible. Get them on board with their healing. And then I go with what they like and their model of the world. Make sense? I want to talk quickly about the miracle scale. After the first session, this comes under empowerment, but I would normally do this in a second or third session. This is really powerful. The miracle scale is 0 to 10. I say 0 means your problem is the worst you can imagine. 10 means you have no problems. Life is beautiful. You don't even need me anymore. So on second or third session, I'm continuing the empowerment thing. This. You won't use it in our first session, but you'll see what I mean. I'll say, where were you before you started working with me? What number on the miracle scale? Where are you now? And I won't bring up the miracle scale until I hear something that I know they're going to do higher than the way they started. That's the foot in the door, right? It's like, oh, wow, I was thinking about this, and boom, I'm jumping on the miracle scale right then and there. If I get any slight improvement. Okay, so then they go, well, I was a 3, and now I'm a 4. I really don't care if it's just 1 or they go 3 to 8. I'm going to jump all over. Wow! You went from 3 to 4? It's fantastic. Now, how did you do it? And I will belabor this. I will stick on this for a while. Really, how'd you get from 3 to 4? This is really fun. This is really fun. What we're looking for is what I call their change mechanism, because we're going to use it with them the rest of the time. See, as soon as you get that little foot in the door of any kind of improvement, even if it's just thinking a little bit better, or they just feel a little bit better because they're in an office having somebody help them with their problem. A lot of times that's enough to get them 3 or 4 or 5. But once again, I don't do anything, right? I'm just a coach. It's their thinking about what's going on that moves them from 3 to 4 or 5 or 6. But so I'm going to highlight that and spotlight it and shine angel energy on them or whatever it is there, and say, you did it. So now sometimes they'll struggle with that. They'll say, I don't know how I did it. I said, well, tell me about what's gone on so far. I know what happened. I could give them the answers, but I'm doing my best to bring it up to them. Now, if they really come up with a dead end, I might give them a laundry list of suggestions. If they really, sometimes you get kids, 10, 11, 12, that are really just not very imaginative. And I could spend all day on this point if I really try. So you got to make your decision how much time you're going to spend on trying to get them to come up with it. And finally go, well, all right, I'll tell you what. Could it be that you did this? You took control of your thoughts. That's a big one. That's the one I'm hoping they come up with, right? Or decided that I can make a change, right? Or I believed in myself is one I've heard before. These are good ones. So we're going to use that on them for everything we're going to do from then on. And now you're changing because you believe in yourself. Or whatever their change mechanism is. See if you can bring that out of them, right? Dig in and dive deep on that. Cool. Any questions about that so far? It's all about getting them to think that they can change. Get them out of their stuckedness. Good. I always give my clients all kinds of homework. We'll give you more homework as we go. You can already kind of hear a few things. One I talked about already is give them a homework of write down a list of all the things they love about their sport. That's usually my first session one. And even if you're not doing sport, I've done this many times with people with nothing to do with sport. Give me a list of all the things that make you happy, that you can focus on, gardening for instance, and everything about gardening. And write it all down, right? And anytime you think of the thing that used to cause that knot in your gut, go grab your 3x5 card with all the things that you can think about that you love. Redirect, that's the homework. I want to see that. Everything to do is absolutely correct, talked about that. I mentioned fake and pretend, just like my back pain client. He was just like, totally didn't buy into it, doesn't matter. He did the work, and I pointed it out, and he got his outcome. I said, all you got to do is just follow my instructions, and you'll get it. And I love this. I say, all you got to do is follow instructions. You don't have to buy in it. You don't have to believe any of this hypnosis stuff. But if you do, it goes way faster.
Great.
I boxed them in. Well, let's see. I want to doubt this and go slower, or I want to go faster. Pretty simple. I love that one. Convincer. At the end of hypnosis sessions. Talked about this before. You guys really get this book. This is the most powerful book. I've never read this book.
What? I didn't see.
Time Distortion in Hypnosis. I've skimmed through it. It's pretty dry. You know what I do with this book? Remember, this is all about getting them to believe they can do hypnosis, getting them to believe they can change. How many of you actually do a bunch of convincers in the middle of hypnosis? Good. Well, that's good. I'm too lazy, or I don't like them. I don't do them. This is my convincer. At the end of every session, or every first session with a client, first session, I ask them, how many minutes were we doing hypnosis for? And 9 out of 10 will way underestimate. And then I go, wow, you were really there. And then I go over to my library, which is over here, and I go pick it up, like I've never done this before, which I do it for everybody. And I give it, and I go, check that out. Oh. They're going, they're already halfway still in hypnosis, right? And now I just convinced them they were totally in hypnosis with this book. We have an unconscious belief that if something's in a book, it's true.
Yes.
Right?
And also you said how many minutes.
Bingo.
I know, I
Say
love that.
yes.
I'm really stacking the deck here because sometimes they answer longer. Wow, I do the same thing. Even if they're like 5 minutes off. It's so powerful. They're getting the idea they can change.
You are tricky.
You are.
You are now going to be tricky. Sharing my secrets with everybody. It's good. Okay. That's it. Now we are going to go. Yes.
Oh, just on that same thing, often clients will ask me, well, how long were we in there? You know, and they're amazed because it seemed like it was just like 5 minutes.
Right.
And, you know,
Yep.
I do emphasize that to them.
Good.
about,
Absolutely.
how
Yeah, you
just
see the value.
So time just disappears.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can even follow it up and saying your unconscious mind doesn't process time like the clock up there. You know how time flies when you're having fun?
Yeah.
And it drags? Well, the clock is the clock. You were totally unconscious processing right there.
Mhm.
You were you know how you take a nap and sometimes it feels like 2 or 3 minutes and you were out for an hour? That's like what's happened here. Like, wow. I've had people just go, where did that time go? It's like I was in a time warp. Wow. It's so great. Do it. Do it. Seriously. Okay, quickly go over what I do with almost every first session with all my clients, whether I'm doing sports, weight loss, smoking, I don't care what. It works. The induction that I take them through, you have it on here. and I gave you the first part of it. I take them through their 5 senses, like that, and then I won't go over it too much other than I do this little confusion thing. It's the 5 senses induction. It's in there, word for word. You can change it to suit you, but I have them. It's part progressive relaxation and it's part confusion, and I found what's really probably the best way to generate a real state of hypnosis is to try to get 2 parts of their mind working at the same time. Have them doing 2 things at the same time. They get really confused. There's not enough capacity to do anything else. Okay? Another thing I like to do, especially for analytical clients. Who here has had struggle with analytical clients? Okay? I learned this from one of my amazing mentors. Some of you know her, Mary Lee LeBay. Take the analytical part of them. Allison, you have an analytical part that likes to analyze and criticize things. I'd like to invite that part to now step outside of you, step to the side or behind, and that part is going to have a lot more to analyze and criticize without getting involved in this process, and it can do a much better job at what it does for you. So I'm going to invite it to step outside, and we'll check in with you when we're done. This is like, boom. It's magic. Quick, fast, easy, gets it out of the way. All right. Things you can do in that first session, obviously, we're all trained. Do benefits. Do benefits right away. Okay, now I'm going to make a recording of this. So you want to put your benefits and your main points right after the induction. Why? Because they're going to have a recording when they get home. And they listen to it at home. They tend to fall asleep after like 10 minutes when they're doing the recording at home. Right? You've already said don't fall asleep in my office, but you're not there at their home when they do it. So you put the most important stuff at the beginning. So when they redo it, that's what they're going to hear a million times. They put the stuff that it's okay if they only did it once in my office towards the end. Okay? So I'm putting all the direct suggestion benefits and anything else that you want to throw in there that you're the greatest, whatnot. Next thing, I got a couple things in the book, ego and confidence, I call them, ones that with a whole laundry list. It's back there. I forget what page it's on. You can scroll through. You'll see it. On confidence, pick and choose out of there. And now your confidence is growing because of this and that. You love challenge, whatever. You throw yourself into. Anybody find the page that's on?
18.
18. It's on page 18. Thank you. I developed that list and I vamp on it sometimes. Sometimes I read it exactly. It's just a whole lot of things you can throw in there about confidence. Okay? Ego, ego strengthening. That's a really common hypno script that's out there, and I picked and chose. Is that the words?
Chose.
Picked and chose a whole bunch of things from your typical and popped it in there for you, so you can go back on that. Okay? By the way, let's talk about scripts for a moment. I put them in little sheets,
Okay.
so they're nice and quiet.
Go ahead.
And I might just put it, if I feel like using one today, I'll just put it underneath my notes like this. And you can just pull it right on out. Now, some people don't believe in scripts, and I want to address that. That's fine. Don't use them. I don't care. I use some of them for some reasons and for fillers and extras. The real work is the process work. You know, the one-on-one, get to the heart. We all know that. But you know what? For the recordings and the reinforcements and some extra little magic, these things are wonderful. And I got some of those for you. I'm going to give you a lot of that and more tomorrow specifically for the athletes. But that's what the ego strengthening and the confidence is designed to do. Some little extra magic. I've heard people say that the ego strengthening script is like a magic bullet before. I've heard that said in the hypno world. So don't discount it, and feel free to change it. Feel free to do it. Read them verbatim. Sometimes I'm lazy and I'll read them verbatim. And sometimes let's pick and choose. Do it your way. Okay? Throw that stuff in there. Now, this is my most powerful thing I want to... Yes?
Just to jump backwards a
Sure.
bit. Could you say a little bit about how you mic, when you're doing the recording, what kind of microphone and how do you set it up?
I just have my Mac.
Okay, so just use the microphone right off the
Yep.
computer and that records it well enough?
Yep.
Well,
That's if you have a Mac. If you have a PC, you have to have a.
Yeah, that's a big technical discussion depending on your equipment.
I had a person in my, one of my clients, record me on her cell phone, on her iPhone, because you can do
Yeah.
it. I mean.
You certainly can. They're
and
pretty
that
good
also
mics.
works. I mean,
Mhm.
You're,
I
just
don't
about any
regularly record
smartphone
everybody.
will do a pretty good job. It's harder to get it off of here on your computer and then sent to them.
yeah,
I'll
But they want it.
my little recorder.
then she can listen to it, that's what she does.
Right.
When I'm at my office with the client's over there, computer's over here on a stand. They can't see my computer, it's a little bit angled like this. They're over there, and I sometimes I'll flip to some script that I want that's on my computer. And I'll just glance over there, their eyes are closed, I'm making sure. Even if they do open their eyes and see me looking, so what? They don't know what I'm doing. So lately I've been really putting everything on my computer so I can do that unobtrusively. But in the past I had this big old fat book and every single one of them had the sheet protectors and I'd turn the pages right on my lap and I did that for years.
One of my first clients was hard of hearing, and talking in a soft voice just didn't work, and it's hard to have that same voice come out loud enough for the person. And so I actually got some noise canceling headphones, and talked through that, and it was great because I could do whatever I wanted to over here. I could flip my papers, I could do whatever I wanted, and it didn't matter that all he got was what I was saying.
Yep.
Wow.
It was really cool, and I ended up using them on lots of different people.
Yep.
Just because it was a way of just shutting out all the distraction.
I've done that before too. I actually had an almost deaf client who I had to turn the whole thing up, total headphones. And also, I'm in an office where sometimes my next door neighbors can get loud.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I don't have this neighbor, but he used to have a child pediatric practice. And these kids would scream right in the middle of my thing.
Oh, no.
And so I'd have the headphones handy just in case. And it was all, I'd talk right into the mic and it would go right to his head. So that's a little techie, but yeah.
I've trained with I've heard a lot of different hypnotists, and they all will use, at some point use the same word, that you'll find that noise outside takes you deeper and deeper, which I don't think anybody believes that. I mean,
Well, it's part of my first induction that you have in
I
here.
know.
It's part of the first session introduction. All sounds outside the room. You better do this every single time.
Yeah.
We'll bring you right back. We'll focus you more fully and deeply on my voice and send you into a deeper trance. Something like that.
I think Mary Lee says, and everything will remind you that the world can keep turning without you.
Beautiful.
And this is your only time. This is just for you.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, I like
Better.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Love it. All right. The next section, meet your unconscious mind. This is the core of what I want to do in my first session, and it sets you up for everything. The biggest problem we have is the client's ability to connect to their unconscious mind, right? That's hypnosis. You know, we can teach them all day long up in the head and teach them stuff, big deal. It's got to get in, right? So unless I got somebody who's already done a bunch of hypnosis, this is really good, and I'm going to write for some process, hardcore work, I'm going to do this. And what it is, after I've done some basic stuff that I already talked about, I'm going to set it up where I have the client in some place they're happy, go to some place you enjoy, usually outdoors, in nature, whatever. Check in with your five senses. Now, imagine over the horizon, or do this any way you want. A figure is coming to you. And as this figure approaches, you're curious and you walk towards this figure. And as you get closer, you recognize this figure looks just like you. And as you get closer, it hits you that this is your unconscious mind. Now the two of you are going to have a conversation. Only nobody's mouth will be moving. See what I'm doing here? Not yet. It's kind of a pseudo parts. It's going to set them up for that and a bunch of other things. Remember, your average client coming in doesn't know what hypnosis is kind of woo, what is, and they have the expectation that you're going to do this. You're going to do this. You talk and they listen. Unless you intuitively feel that this person is ready for hardcore work right off the bat, which is not the case with athletes, rare with athletes. And I find rare with the average with the public too. And I went too fast, too far with too many clients and made the mistake of going right on in and trying to get the core thing right off the bat. And then they're just like, what? They're just not set up well enough. They're not ready. It's too much. And so I do this. You meet your unconscious mind. You're going to have a conversation. Nobody's mouth will be moving. Whatever he says, thinks, and feels, you'll get it. Whatever you want to get across, he'll pick it up. So what am I setting up? That in the future, you're going to have no mouth conversations with your inner mind. In hypnosis with me and by yourself for the rest of your life. The whole goal here is to have rapport with your unconscious mind. That's the source of all problems. If you don't have rapport with your unconscious mind, you're going to live stuck in your problems because it's just going to keep doing what it's always done. Right? This is number one. Clear that block. Establish communication. Make a buddy out of your unconscious mind. So now I say, and you start I'm doing the whole conversation for them. They're not saying a word. So you start the conversation by saying, hey, I want XYZ. I'd like you to be on board with helping me get blah, blah, blah. I'd like you to help me with my soulmate becoming 120 pounds, size 4. I'd like you to help me get the league championship all-star team, whatever. And I just go on as much as I think, yeah, I need you to do this for me. I want you to do that for me. You're talking for the client. And then you say, and then your unconscious mind, I switch over. Your unconscious mind hears everything and he's nodding his head and he understands what you mean. Of course he does. It's you. You're saying it. Right? He gets it. He says, yeah, client, I can do that for you. I can do that for you. But I have a request of you in return. You see, it's my job to run your body. So in return for me helping you with that thing, I need you to help me run this body. That means I need you to eat the right things, drink the right things, take care of the body, but especially take care of any stresses. And I say, and you client, you know what he means by that. I'm very unspecific. The client knows what they mean by that. And then, and you agree. And you can see how you got a good thing going here or something like that. Right? And now take a few moments and give them some more specifics about what you want and how you want it to have happen. So if we're talking about swimming, you're telling your client to, talk about the mechanics of swimming. Or if it's gymnastics, you're telling your client, I want to be able to do a back handspring. If it's just stressed, you're telling your unconscious mind, help me to focus more on gardening. Help me to put my mind on all the things I love, the things we talked about before, the things that I helped them destroy earlier, right? We're asking for help from the young. We're basically doing self-hypnosis in hypnosis. I'm making them do the work. And I just pause for a moment and I just go, la, la, la. Sometimes I check my email. No, just kidding. All right? And then I go, and then you wrap it up, and I might spend a minute or two in just silence and let them do that work. It's really powerful. They've told me this. And I say, and now you say goodbye to each other, but before you do, you ask them one last thing. Can we come to this place and have these conversations and continue working together? And your unconscious mind says, yes, but we don't even have to come to this place anymore. We can have these conversations anywhere, everywhere. Now that I know, you know what I do for you, and I'm listening to you, we're going to make a lot of great things happen together from now on. And you feel great about that. And so you say goodbye to them, hug them, however you feel about them. And your unconscious mind goes off into the sunset or whatever. Then you turn around and you notice a path. It's on here, the path. Path or a trail. Funny, you didn't notice that path before. But there it is, in plain view. The unconscious mind laid it out for you. It was unclear before, but now that you made this connection, life is going to get great. You're on track. You've got a buddy who's laid out your goals pathway. So now I have them walk the path. And how you start walking the path. And I'll throw in all kinds of things like, and sometimes you run the path. And sometimes the trail goes straight uphill, but you love stretching your legs, metaphoring difficulties. And sometimes you fall down, but you always pick yourself back up with the help of your unconscious mind that's, you getting it? Sometimes there's obstacles, and you see them as opportunities to get stronger on your path. And I'll just do all kinds of stuff on the path. It's fun. You get creative on that. Cool? And then, when I'm done with that path, I'll do this thing, it's a script called Therapy Between Sessions. Anybody heard of that one? It's really cool. It's kind of like a little added magic. I'll just throw it at the tail end if I have enough time. And it's in the book here. I don't remember what page it is. You'll find it. But it's basically, you're saying, and now I'm talking directly to the unconscious mind. And, I know some things about the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind can make changes even after you come out of this hypnotic state. And that's what the script is all about. So we leave this open-ended thing where this process can continue after you leave this building. In magical and wonderful and maybe even mysterious ways, but it's going to happen. Because your unconscious mind is going to work on this in your dreams and in your gaps of time, and you're serious and you want this to happen. Oh, it's this great way to finish it up. It just leaves the work continuing, and the client's like, wow, I got this magic inside, we got this connection. Oh man, they just feel so good. And you know what? I have found you really want them, especially unless they're an experienced hypnosis client who knows the drill. Like us, we might not need this. But your average person, you want them walking away from that first session feeling good. Bottom line. I used to go for the throat and the core right off the bat, and some didn't come back because it was too much for them. I learned that hard way. Start them off light. And I know some other hypnotherapists teach go for the core. I'm just telling you what I do. Okay? Cool? And then when they come out, I do the convincer, and I explain when they're done what we just went through. I don't leave it up to chance they've got all these metaphors I just told you about. So you got the path now, right? Can you see that? Can you feel that? You got the way? And this connection you have now? Oh, we're going to do a lot with that, right? I'm going to just go over it. I don't leave it up to chance. Or I ask them to tell me, what did you get out of that? And maybe they'll tell me what I hope to hear from what we did. And I also give them homework that first part, the 5 session, the exercise I gave you guys, that's your homework. That's more homework. You're to walk around every day, when you get a moment, think about, get present. Go to your 5 senses and get present. Do it anytime, especially when you think about worry, stress, anxiety, fear. Do your 5 senses thing like I did when I went to Vegas that time. That's homework for you to do. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Questions? That's pretty much what I do in first session. Oh, one other thing I want to throw in there. The way I bring clients up, the way I bring them back, I always will throw in one of my, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and say stuff in between. I'll almost always throw in there a color. This color has a special meaning for you, a post-hypnotic signal. And it's going to be a color we're going to see a lot, everywhere, every single day, to continue the process.
Do you choose the color, or do you let them choose the color?
Excellent question. I have in the question section, do you have a favorite power color? I have that question.
Mm-hmm.
If I do ask that, if I remember to ask that, and I sense that they go, oh yeah, green's my power color, then I'm going with that. But if I don't remember to do that, then I'll pick. Here's how I usually pick. Usually it's red. Usually I'll say red has a special meaning for you. Red means all the things that you learned here. Red means the work you've done. Red means you are connected to your inner mind and body, and you have a newfound power, strength, and confidence in your ability to change anything you want. You're in control, boom, something like that. Now, if we're doing something like stress and anxiety, and this is a timid person, I'm going to go with green. Or like if they're stuck, green. Green is a special color. Green means go. You go. You go on things. Green, you're going to see green clothes, green shoes, green trees, green grass. And every time you see green, it's going to remind you, you are a go person. If they're a trauma type person, I'm going to use blue. Every time you see blue, it's going to remind you the inner peace you have from connecting to your unconscious or whatever else we did. So those are some suggestions. I have used yellow in the past. Yellow happy. So if you can get it out of them and you feel good, like, oh yeah, that means something to them, use theirs. But often I'll forget to do that. Yeah.
I had somebody just yesterday, and I asked her about a color, and she picked a color, and afterwards she says, "That's a color I never picked. It really does come from your unconscious." So it had more meaning to
Beautiful.
it because
Beautiful.
she felt that it was so unusual for her
Yeah.
that it was
Yep.
powerful.
Yep. Yep.
Became
A lot of guys, especially, like red. You know, that's the tribal, the masculine power color, typically. So if I forget and I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to do a color, and it's a guy who wants to get better at sport, I'm going to pick red 90% of the time or more. Cool? Good questions. Any other questions before we move on?
And what is this about explain all the goals? I'm sorry. Okay.
The what?
Explain all the goals.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. At the end of it, I'll
You're
explain
just-
about how I taught you how to, remember the first part of the session, the 5 senses? That's your homework. That was a goal to teach you how to do present. The goal, we connected your unconscious mind so that now you have this newfound ability to change your responses and get into new states, right? And
Oh, you're not actually telling them it's the goals. You're just telling them the things that they already do.
well, I'm telling them the goals for the first session.
Do you call it goals to them?
No,
Yes,
no.
that's what it is.
No.
Yeah, okay.
I'm telling them, I'm
You're just
reiterating.
reinforcing what you did in the sessions.
And highlighting it. Yeah. I do want to, I skipped over this because I want to do it separately, but this is where it would belong, the Sedona and breaking the wall. You
Yeah.
see that in there?
Yes.
Those are some cool little tricks too. I often don't have time for that. But Sedona is really simple. So you're on the path, right? And if they're dealing with a mental block, a real stuck thing, and you feel they need that help, you say you're walking the path. And all of a sudden you come upon a wall. And the wall blocks your path. And the wall is too far to the left and to the right to walk around, and it's too high to go over. And the wall, you've seen, felt, heard this wall before. And you stop at the wall. I'm going to give you 3 questions. This is all in your book in the supporting area. I'm going to give you 3 questions. Why don't you just consider those questions as you stand in front of the wall? You don't have to answer them. Just let them sink in. Can you let whatever go? The fear, the emotion, the problem. Are you willing to let it all go? And when will you let it all go? And you have a pause, a bit of a pause. And just as that last question starts sinking in, the ground begins to rumble. And I'll kind of imagine I'm there. Sometimes I actually feel myself doing this, like I'm totally in there with them. It's earthquake. And the ground starts to rumble and shake. And then I'll say it again. Can you let it all go? Really profound, like I'm God or something. Right? Can you let it all go? That nothing, no religious problem there. Cancel. But I'll use that kind of authoritative voice. You know what I'm saying? Can you let it all go? Are you willing to let it all go? And when that last question, all of a sudden the ground really starts to shake and everything, and bricks are flying and explosion and blast. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but sometimes I actually go this far. And all of a sudden, and the dust clears, and you look, and you see that wall has broken apart, and you can walk through the hole on your path past this wall. So what am I doing? I'm teaching them that their thoughts can break through this wall. Just simple things. Now, Sedona method, there's a lot to it, but really that's the core of it.
Are
Yes.
you waiting for yes response?
No, no words. I'm doing the whole thing all by myself. First
So
session.
you're just assuming the yeses.
No, there is no yes. They don't even need to answer it. The questions by themselves
Mm-hmm.
get inside, kind of break things up. I don't need, if they want to answer it to themselves, it doesn't matter either way. Because I don't even want to leave it to chance for them to say no in the middle of this. That's why even to give them permission, you don't even have to answer the question. Just consider it. Remember, we're talking about opening things up, breaking things up, opening their mind to new possibility. Generally, they're in your office, they're stuck. They don't think they can change. They don't know how they're going to change. You're giving them an avenue, connecting to their unconscious. Thoughts create states, right? And states allow you to perform or behave in ways you want to. That's what I'm really working on that first session, is breaking them up, breaking up their stuckness. Make sense? Good. Any questions?
I had one earlier just about colors. Is there ever a color that you don't consider? Like gray or?
No?
Just wondering.
Yep. I use colors in another way. This is very useful. And I'll throw this in anywhere. Anytime you've done any kind of release work, you know, there's a million different ways to release difficult emotions. I'll say, now imagine that emotion or that old stuff is a color in your body. This is very useful. And it might be a dark color, I don't know. I'll kind of leave it open. Lots of times I'll say a dark color. And as I continue to speak, that color is leaving your body. The music you hear in the background helps vibrate it loose and helps it leave your body. You know, it's a metaphor for release work. So I'll use color that way too. That's another good one. And I don't think it matters that much. I need to go backwards on focus for a moment. I missed this one because I didn't have it written down. I talked a lot about focus, what to focus on. But did you know there's a way to improve your focus, which is very useful for athletes, for sure, to make your focus better? And it's so simple. More homework. You tell them to take a simple thing like a knife or a spoon in your hands. Anytime you have a moment, remember I'm an efficiency fanatic and I want homework to be really quick, fast, easy, and doable. I want you to time yourself and start off with 5 seconds of holding this spoon or this knife in your hand. It has to be as nondescript as possible, as simple as possible, popsicle stick, whatever. And just observe it. And see how long you can observe it without thinking about where it came from, what it's used for, how it's made. You're just observing it. And just try for 5 seconds. And if you can do 5, then shoot for 10. We're teaching ourselves focus. And then I'll get into a little discussion about how brain cells literally will be forming as you are training yourself how to focus for longer and longer periods of time. Everybody can do this for a couple, 3 seconds, right? If you can do it for 2 or 3 seconds, you can then do it down the road for 10 and down the road for 20. And I'll tell them, you'll literally be forging new neural connections. And you will use those new neural connections to focus on the things that are going to work for you. The love, the present, gardening, things like that. The things you love. Yes?
So when you tell them to focus on it without, just to observe it, but as soon as you start in with where it comes from, now it's in my brain. Where it comes from, what's made out of. You say those things.
This is homework. I normally won't have them do it in my office.
Oh, okay.
I'll just give it to them as homework so that they...
So you're not telling them those things. You're
No.
just saying,
Yeah.
observe.
Yes, that's right. And
Whatever they're observing is.
there's plenty to put your mind on here. There's the feel of it. There's the color of it. There's the shape of it. There's plenty to put your mind. I'm not asking you not to think of anything.
So observe from the 5 senses.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That was good
All right.
clarification.
All right.
Observe from the 5 senses.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Good job. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rose. Yeah. So there's plenty to put your mind on there, right? We all have this Ferrari mind needs to do something. We need to train our mind. And with athletes, you got to tell them, listen, you guys, you practice your physical game over and over and over and hours and hours and hours. I'm only asking for like 20 seconds a day. You're in here because mental game. Even if we're just talking about stress or anxiety, focus overcomes all. What do you focus on? If you were to focus all day long on the thing you love doing, even if you're not doing it, I don't think you're going to have time to stress out too much. You're just not in control of your thoughts. And it's something you can improve on. Now, yes, everybody has tendencies. Some people are better, some people are ahead, whatever. You just leave them with the idea that they can get better. And it's a process, and it's a lifetime practice. Start it today. Tell yourself you're always going to get better. Maybe a little bit better tomorrow, a little bit better the next day. It's an open-ended, I'm always going to get better. It's not a, you have to do this perfectly or not. No. It's a practice. Everything is a practice, and you'll always do it the right way, and you will get better. Good questions.